All right, y'all, we are ready to go. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Y'all here today. Y'all ready to get on the show in this time. The title of the show today is What is the Issue with This Weather? That's one of the things because, as you all know, it's not just the weather, it's a multitude of things that we have to say, what's the issue with it? It's some of this and some of that. And right now, it's more of that than it is this, so to say. So how's everybody doing out there? How you doing, Walter?
I'm great.
Yeah, yeah.
How are you? How's everybody?
Doing okay. I mean, to, trying to get acclimated. I mean, we had what? Think about it. We had 80-degree weather, 70 something degree weather. Now it's back down to 30 something, and supposedly maybe 50. I don't know, but it's all
And
over.
it's snowing. It's like a mini blizzard outside.
That's the other part. Snow and did we get
And
rain?
Thursday snow.
We had rain also. Remember? So we
Yeah,
could.
but we can sit up and argue that global warming is not real. So yeah, let's have that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, what do we really know? Because what we do know is the way things have been going. Um, I remember one period in my life, I just took it for granted that every 2 or 3 years we're going to have extreme cold and a whole lot of snow. I mean, the 80s was like that, if you remember.
Yep.
Beginning of the 80s, all the way through, it was like extreme cold. And then you'll skip a year or so, and then you get dumped with a lot of snow. And that was just the pattern for years. Then I want to say, what, in the 90s, it wasn't so sporadic like that. But we started getting all of these torrential rains, if you don't. I remember the big, as they say, flood in Chicago. First one that I can recall was in 97. Some people tell me that there was one before that, but I had never experienced a basement flooding as it did back in '97, and it was just catastrophic if you ask me. And then what happened? It happened again in 2000 something, and 2011, and 2013, and 23, and this that. What is going on? We just living in like you said, the mode of climate change, or it's just always been there. We just never noticed.
I'm gonna go with climate change.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess you're right. I guess you are right. But why is that such a hard pill for people to swallow? They just don't want to own up to. I mean, is it costing money to say that, or is it just I don't know. What is the issue? Let's figure out how to adjust to it, adapt to it, make it happen. So it won't be so impactful. What is it?
I think it's cycles.
What do you mean by cycles?
We're leaving the ice age, we're going to the warm age.
Mm, okay, let's study it. Let's think about it. The ice age was what, millions of years ago?
Yeah, but it happens in the Middle Ages too. We had ice ages.
When was that? What was that year?
1400s, we had an ice age. Well, like a small one.
Mhm. And what was the reason behind that? Did anybody predict or have any assumptions on that?
So we just got to recorrect. I think it's gonna come back, the ice age, and fix everything back. But we just leave it the ice age, go into the warm age for a little bit.
Okay, so now you're speaking of the warm age. What is the warm age?
No, because if they were out in Antarctica taking the ice samples and they see what the gases are and everything.
Mhm.
And you say, okay, this has happened more than one time, an ice age.
So what you're saying is they take samples of the ice at the coldest in the coldest areas that's either had ice since the beginning of whenever, and they can use that as a way to measure cycles. Is that what you're saying? Cyclical weather patterns can be measured by taking samples of ice. I'm sure. Well, they do it with soil samples. They can tell, what do they call it? They look for the carbon content in the soil to tell how old something is. So I'm sure they probably could do it with ice. So.
CO2 gases.
Okay,
Look
but
at Al Gore. His father was a big oil man, right? Now he's big pusher for uh, the Green Deal.
yeah, but that's just business, economics, money, following the patterns and the trends. If
So
the
his
truth,
father,
hmm?
so his father's a big oil guy, Al Gore. Now he's selling the credits for carbon.
What credits? I'm not
They're
understanding.
talking about the credits for carbon emissions
Oh, carbon.
from, yeah.
Oh, I thought you said Target. I'm like, what? Target?
No, no.
You got credits for Target?
No, not for Target.
And well, look at Trump. Trump was all drill baby drill. Now he's out there. Hey, we got to buy electric cars. I mean,
Was he a salesman for Tesla or what?
I think whatever makes money, he's looking at. Well,
Yeah,
that's
look at that one guy they killed a long time ago because he had a water car run
oh
on water.
yeah, hydrogen vehicle. Yeah, there's some conspiracies behind that. That's a big conspiracy behind the guy. Um,
See?
I actually studied. I had a class in my master's program some years ago, and it was we had to study the carbon footprint of each individual. What does your carbon footprint look like, and which really meant, how much carbon produce energy, um, what do I want to say? Energy supplies are you using as an
What,
individual?
methane?
No, not just methane. I mean, carbon based, yeah, methane.
Methane gas.
Do you know methane is one of the biggest polluters of the atmosphere?
So humans pollute the air.
No, they're saying
Methane gas.
livestock. They're saying livestock. If we reduce the consumption of livestock, that means the producers of livestock will reduce the volume that they create, because they say all the livestock is really the reason why we have greenhouse gases, and it contributes contributes. Remember they used to talk about the ozone, the hole in the ozone?
Yeah,
What
they
happened to
had
that?
that I believe CFO. They used the gas from aerosols, and then they took it out for refrigerators.
Hmm.
They had a special gas that what they can't use no more.
So what happened to the hole? We don't hear about. I haven't heard about the ozone, hole in the ozone in over 10 years now. Used to hear about
No,
it all the time in the 80s, the 90s. I haven't heard anyone talk about the hole is getting bigger or the hole is getting smaller or the hole is staying the same size. No one has said anything.
yeah, nothing about it.
That's all you used to hear. So we need to reduce our carbon consumption, carbon fuel consumption, because it's creating a hole in the ozone. It's bigger and bigger every year. Okay, what happened to that?
Nothing.
There's nothing about it. But the reality is, again, everybody's going to push low carbon consumption of fuel consumption. But what is really the carbon fuel consumption of electrical vehicles? Because they claim electric is more, how do we put it, conducive to the environment or better for the environment versus fossil fuel based products, or not products, energy sources.
I think it'll cost more because let's say if it breaks down or it gets in an accident, you gotta cost more to clean up.
Well, when again, that's another cost that people never look at. You have to look at the total product usage, and that goes all the way down to disposal. You have to look at how you dispose of everything that you produce or utilize, not just utilization, because at one point, every product has what they call a shelf life, right? So if you have
Yes.
a shelf life, that means that it has an end life on the shelf or utilization endpoint. So then once it ends or can't use it anymore, what happens to it? And most often people never look at the cost of disposal. Everything has a cost of disposal cost, a disposal cost. But we don't think about that. We buy products, we throw away the plastic bags, that's a disposal cost because plastic is a non-biodegradable product. It's a
Yes.
petroleum-based product. And once it's in the ground, it lasts forever there. It doesn't break down. That's
True.
why they went to charging in the city of Chicago for plastic bags. I mean, you go to buy something, they ask you want a plastic or, some places they actually want paper or plastic. They ask the choice. Some they just say, hey, you want a bag, we're gonna charge you for it. So it make you think make you feel like you're feeling it. And the other side is the companies that charge, are they paying some kind of surcharge for distributing plastic bags per company to the government or something? Think about that. 7 cents a bag, millions of bags are sold because most often you're not going to walk out of an establishment or a store with product just in your hand, especially if you got more than 2 products and they're small or they're large, it depends. You want a bag unless you bring your own, and most often times they don't encourage that because they think, oh, you're shoplifting if you're bringing your bag in the store. It's like, really? Well, you're not giving me a bag. This is what I have to do. But nevertheless, we need to look at the cost of disposal. Everything has a shelf life and a disposal cost. Cars, I hate to say it, but even the places we live in, how often do you have to go and replace things in your home? You gotta replace hot water tanks. You gotta replace furnaces. You gotta replace air conditioners. You gotta replace um, I don't know, doors, windows, whatever. Everything has a shelf life. And what happens when you go to get rid of them? No, reality. What really happens? They end up in a landfill. They end up in recycling, or they end up where else? What's the third place? What do they say? Reuse, refurbish, or recycle, right?
Oceans,
Or in the ocean. What
a
do you
lot
mean
of
by that?
plastic, a lot of plastic in the oceans.
Oh yeah, you know there's an island. They say there's an island of debris on the Pacific in the Pacific Ocean, as big as the state of I don't know Maine or something, and it's just floating there. It just somehow the winds and the current, it's just makes all this stuff pool together, and as it
Yeah.
pools together, it's
And
created
then,
its own landmass.
yeah, there's a lot of garbage in the water, oceans. You know, turtles getting, they get choked by all that plastic around their necks
Right.
all over. Look at the big oil spills that we get. You know, we gotta clean it all up.
Yeah. I hate to say it, but we are contaminating the earth. I'm a living witness of that. A couple weeks ago, I was down at the Gulf of Mexico, or as they say, the Gulf of Steve Robinson, since everybody's naming the Gulf what they want these days.
All
But
at the Gulf of Walter.
there you go. Might as well. Everybody else doing it. Just call it what you want. But I had an opportunity I literally drank some of the water by mistake. And it messed me up. It messed my system up. And I have relatives down there. And I asked my cousin, he said, man, you didn't drink the water, did you? I said, yeah, I had some with medicine. I only had like a little Dixie cup. He goes, no, man, you can't drink the water down here, especially after Katrina. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you can't. I said, but I don't understand. What did we drink when we were little? We didn't have bottled water in the 60s and 70s and 80s. I was down there plenty of times, lived down, and I'm like, I don't remember drinking bottled water. So whatever happened to contaminate the Gulf of Mexico, it's happened within the last 10, 15 years. Because that water, you cannot drink it, man. It mess you up. And it reminds me of like when people would go to visit Mexico. I remember this very, very vividly. People go to visit Mexico and they would say, hey, don't drink the water because you get Montezuma's revenge. And I'm like, what's that? Well, you'll find out. You'll spend most of your time in the bathroom. And then Mexico cleaned their water up, because they started getting better filtration systems. I mean, you never hear people say, well, the other side of it is they can buy bottled water now, I guess, which is still processed and clean. But yeah, I mean, that's what we're doing. We just have to, everything we do now, we got to reprocess and process again.
Mhm. And look, recently we're selling water on the CME, on the Merc.
Really?
Yes, there's a symbol. They're
Really?
selling water
So
as a
what is
as
a commodity now like that?
what's that, Steve?
Water's a commodity like a commodity now like that?
Yes, it's on the Merc.
I thought water would just be a natural resource that's available to all at any time.
I know, but it's on there.
Wow.
Well, with Trump getting rid of all our safeguards we had in place to keep the water clean and keep the environment clean and sustainable, it's going to get worse. because these people with money gonna go out there like they're crazy and pollute everything. There's no more safeguards. There's no fines. There's nothing. It's just
Mm.
like a bull in a china shop. They're going stark raving mad.
Bull in the China shop, huh?
Yeah.
It's it's funny because it's almost as if you want to use a scapegoat, or now I'm gonna say scapegoat. If you want to use a reason, a rational reason behind everything that happens today, you just go, oh, it's because of Donald Trump. Look at him. Look what he did. And people kind of go, yeah, I guess you're right. But yeah, he's done a lot crazy things in the last, I don't know, 30, 60 days. Well, many of these things were coming down the pipe also, whether we knew it or not. For
Wait,
example,
there's one thing that he didn't. Was he president when that filth in Michigan was messed up, or what? Or down in south of Chicago, the water plant was bad.
you're talking about in what's the name of it, Michigan?
Robbins?
Robbins, Illinois.
Yeah, the water was bad down there.
It was
Something.
Robbins, but Robbins always has because they're not tied into the Chicago system.
Or wasn't that
Right.
Detroit?
No, it wasn't Detroit. It was
It was Flint.
Flint.
Yeah, Flint.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
Flint, Michigan.
Mhm. This is an ongoing problem.
But have you noticed we haven't heard anything? Has it gotten better? Has it stayed the same? Has it gotten worse? We heard about it and then it fell flat. Because I can't tell you what the water situation is with people in Flint because I don't hear anybody talking about it anymore.
Absolutely.
Or in Robbins.
Well, Robbins is right near us.
Or Harvey. Robbins or Harvey, the water was bad, you can't drink it. And then you gotta heat it up.
Well,
Water.
the EPA, I think they got all over that one in Harvey. But Robbins, let me just say, I think the problem with Robbins, Illinois, there's just not enough people living there that they make that they make a big concern out of it. Robbins is like a forgotten town, just not even 10 miles outside of Chicago, barely 8 miles, and it's like a forgotten place. I had an opportunity to go to Robbins in the early 90s or the late 90s, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, where are the sidewalks? It was like I was waiting for tumbleweed to come down the street, And I went there for a funeral, and it was so weird because I don't remember cars being parked on anywhere, and I parked and walked across seemed like I walked across a dirt road on a dirt sidewalk to a funeral home that had a wooden sidewalk. And I'm like, wow. In the evening, it's kind of weird that I drove, 20, 30 minutes. Not even that many minutes outside of Chicago, maybe 15 minutes outside of Chicago. And I said, wow, this place exists? And this is how it exists? But you're right. There are many towns that are just they're not up to date with anything, And
they got no new water plants. They should be all over around Flint, Michigan, other parts of Illinois. We could sell the water too.
I mean, think about this. This is America. Everybody should have, what they say, the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What happens to the life part? I mean, because the things that we're going through, they don't assure us that we're going to have a life quality or even have a life. That's just strange, you know, in the place where they claim this is the land of milk and honey and all of that. And then we got Gary, places like Gary that's been underwater. I don't want to say underwater, but just desolate, destitute, and decrepit for over 40 years. 40 years. And
Yeah.
some people say part of Gary, we just don't know of them.
Yeah, Gary was a steel town.
Right? But what killed the steel town? Wasn't the Jackson 5 leaving? I guarantee you that.
Yeah, Jackson 5.
I think what killed the steel town was the investment or
Steel
disinvestment in America.
prices.
Pardon?
During the 80s, they had steel wars back
Right.
then.
Because the influx of Japanese cars.
Or the Chinese, they bring that cheap steel over here.
Nah, not in the 80s. No.
Yeah, 80s.
No. I can't believe
No?
it. You didn't know. There weren't.
Yeah.
First, think about it. We did very little business with China, or what back then, what we called it mainland. What we did, the only place we did most of our economic or commerce with was Hong Kong, and a lot of that it wasn't so much major products. It was, you know, some of this, some of that, and then if you wanted something out of China mainland, you'd have to go through Hong Kong. So there wasn't a super big influence. It was coming. It was slowly, gradually building momentum. But Japan and or Korea was the big one. I think when it came to cars, cars was the biggest one. That's where all the steel is at. So I think that and you got to think about it. Back then, the cars were made in Japan and they were shipped over. Now, where did they get their steel? I don't know. They had a big market. They could have got some from Africa. They could have got some from China. They could have gotten steel from. I don't think they would have shipped all the way to the U.S. to get steel from the U.S. and then send the cars back over. That just doesn't. That's just not a good what they call it process flow. You know. But no, we're living in a time where it's not, how do I put it? It's not unperceivable to say that towns could disappear. Towns can, I mean, look at Maywood, Illinois. Maywood used to be vibrant. Maywood has just kind of been like here, there, hanging on for the last 40 years, just like Gary. They're not like Gary, but they were way better in the 70s.
Maywood was a point for the underground railroad that came up here. Maywood.
Yeah, it's a stopping. What do they call it? A layover point or a point? Underground railroad.
McDonald's is right there on Lake
They
Street.
didn't have no McDonald's during the Underground Railroad period. What are you talking about?
No, right there they have a little
Oh,
like a symbol.
right. The location is next to the
Location.
McDonald's. They said they had McDonald's. You can go get a McDonald's on the Underground Railroad. Yeah, right.
No, not that, but
No, I know what you're saying. That it's one of the railroad terminal points, or yeah. But again, y'all, what is going on with this weather? Rain, snow, 80 degrees, and we're talking about global warming. Yeah.
yeah, but we always gotta go through this every year. Then middle of the summer, we're gonna say it's so hot outside. Just
Yeah, but this hasn't been like this all. I mean, you say it's a pattern. Everything's a pattern, but what's the flow of this pattern? We don't know. I can't keep up with the flow of this situation.
Our weather's pretty good in Chicago compared to everywhere else. They're
I
getting hit by tornadoes, getting
Yeah,
hit by everything else.
I heard about Atlanta. They said Atlanta had 6 or 7 tornadoes or something yesterday.
Oh, wow.
If I'm not mistaken, someone was telling me. But yeah, I mean, then they're saying something's going on coming up from the Gulf, so it could be part of that, just moving its way up. But hey, you move to a warmer climate, look what you got to deal with.
Yeah, hurricanes, tornadoes, everything.
I just had a talk with a friend of mine. He said when you live in those climates, you have to build a house that has a tornado rating to it. I'm like, what does that mean? You gotta build it under the earth, because I don't care what you build. If a tornado hits it, it's gonna go.
Yeah.
And when did we have? The closest one we had was just last year, was in Naperville. We went up and down a few streets, remember? But they didn't want to. And that's another thing. I don't know why they don't just say tornado. They say, oh, it was a microburst. Really? We call those tornadoes. If it tears up your house, right?
Yeah.
So what
Now
you
the
say there?
houses, now
Okay.
their houses are made out of cardboard.
What do you mean cardboard?
How they put them up? Look like skeletons, and you just put some cardboard around it. And they look pretty weak to me. And the houses just fall down like nothing.
Well,
Have you?
and do you get money? Does FEMA give out money for a microburst? Or does FEMA give out money when it's called a hurricane, tsunami, or something else?
I think the FEMA only gives money if the president sends them out. You know, the
Yeah,
president
declare it. Yeah, they
and
declare it the emergency.
and it's up to the president. Like okay, I give you an
But is
example.
a microburst ever an emergency or no?
I can't recall. I can't recall that there was like federal that the federal government came out for that, but I have to ask people out there because it could have been a substantial amount of damage. I think it has a lot to do with how much damage is actually being invoked. But I tell you this much, right now, whether you guys know it or not, the federal government sent Chicago and the county of Cook 800 and let me see, $80-something million, and the city of Chicago is supposed to receive 436 million of that, and the county is,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, you didn't know that, Walter?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. I don't know if I should be talking about it.
You should talk about it. Because
well,
I want my money. I want it now.
that's the other part of it. I guess anybody over here, did anyone know about that money that just came through about a month or two ago? Biden he released that money. Does anybody know? Well, let me say this then, since no one really knows. I don't know if I should be talking about it, but I guess I am because it shouldn't be a secret. Um, City of Chicago received over like $436 million, half of the 880, and the county I think receives the rest. And it came from Biden right before he left office to help with any of the disaster needs that had happened, or I guess to happen. And right now, and the reason I know this because I'm sitting in rooms with people, primarily people from the city, and it's being discussed. One of the biggest things that came out of it was, will Trump would let that money loose? You know, Biden okayed it. He passed it on. He passed, you know, ratified it. That the city gets it, and the county gets it, or state gets it, Illinois. But the question was, since Trump was kind of holding up money from different places, states and what have you, will he, can he, and hold that money against, you know, hold it up and not let it, you know, let the floodgates open, as they say. The other side of it is people are saying, you know, how do we get the money? And that's a good question, because I'm not sure on that part. Who's qualified? How are you qualified? When are you qualified? Because that's almost $1 billion, you know. But I do know it is supposed to be for disaster relief, present, past tense, and possibly whatever's needed going forward. No one's heard of that, right?
Oh,
Wow, I've been sitting in rooms. We've been talking about that since January, end of January, and I hopefully will know more in the up and coming weeks, because what, anybody hear anything about FEMA being reduced, downsizing of FEMA?
no.
Okay. That's probably a good thing that it's not.
No, I had heard that Trump and his folks were going to get rid of FEMA. That's what I heard about a month ago, because it was ineffective.
Well, what does that mean, ineffective? That, or by,
Well, I don't know, but that's what they said. You know, they don't know what nothing means, but that's what I heard. I saw it on George Stephanopoulos, or whatever that name is. On his show about all the cuts and stuff they were doing, and they were planning on getting rid of FEMA.
really?
Yeah.
So, I mean, is it because they're saying that the money's not reaching the people that need it, or is it, I mean, what exactly are they? Did they define it in any format?
Nope, they didn't say nothing except that that was one of the cuts that Trump was eyeing.
Wow.
So I
Easy.
don't know what his reasoning is. You know, it's kind of like his reasonings is his reasonings and nobody else's. So I don't know what that idiot means.
Hmm. Um, I do know there's a big fear, because people are saying that, how do you put it? That there's going to be some catastrophes and some fatalities in this regime. But I mean, people pass away all the time. But I guess if you're passing away because you can't get your medicine, or you can't get, you know, your Social Security or whatever, I don't know what they're cutting, but that could be bad. People depend on it, and I don't see why we would not have the most vulnerable people not being, you know, we need to make sure that they're taken care of.
It's true.
But he doesn't care if they're taken care of. He doesn't have any value in the vulnerable people. He sees value in, what is it, the 1%. He sees value in them. Everyone else, I mean, because to me, no disrespect to anybody, but he proved that during COVID.
Yeah, but wow. I mean, let's be real though. When you get rid of the CDC now, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna make this a viral situation, saying, but I do know that they said they cut back on some of the Center for Disease Control areas. Like they said, they call them investigators, CDC investigators. I think they let all of them go. But why would you do that? You need the investigators. They're the ones out there that actually, searching out to find out what the next pandemic may lead to or what have you. But again, we do know how he felt about the pandemic. At first, he was just like, it's not anything to be afraid of. It's just China. That's all he kept saying. China.
Say it again, says China.
Yeah. This guy, man, I don't know. I saw a list. They said a list of the top 8 worst presidents, the top 7, and he ended up being like number 3, which is, yeah, I can see it. And a lot of the worst presidents had something to do with their stance on civil rights and how they view people and things they did during the period when they were in the presidency seat and how they handled things, But yeah, I don't know. I had to talk with the individual the other day about Trump bringing back manufacturing and like he said, make America great again by having us, produce everything we need to produce. But the problem with that is it can't happen within 4 years. It just becomes a situation where, that which has taken over 40 years to come into existence, meaning most of our products are made overseas. How do we expect to make and produce these same products for equal or lower cost than what we're currently paying and for products coming from the Pacific Rim and Asia? So, I mean, Americans don't have to not make as much anymore. Do we end up, we always talk about recessions and we always talk about inflation, but what is deflation? What about, instead of recessing, what about, what's the opposite of recessing? I don't know. What is it called? Anybody know? What's the opposite of recession? You got
What's that?
Huh? What's it called? You know what a recession? You know what a depression is, but what's a recession? Anybody know? What's the opposite of recession?
Deflation.
Deflation?
Yeah, after a recession so many times, then it goes to like a depression.
Yeah, but what is it where it's not bad? What's the term? Just not bad, I guess.
Bad.
No, like where everything goes in a positive direction. What is that called? When you gain, where everything is a gain. People gain in economics. People gain in want everybody to be healthier, but
Socialism.
Socialism, that's what they're calling
it. Yeah, right.
It's gonna be, huh?
Right.
I know you said that to me before. You said, yeah, I don't think there's gonna be a 2-party or any party system. It's just gonna be socialism. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Is that what it's all gonna boil down to?
Yeah.
Huh.
Can I bring up something that's
Where's
another topic?
what's that?
You guys remember Giuliani,
Of course.
mayor, and you know how he was all out there for Trump and making, telling all kind of lies and just really out front for Trump. And then you don't even hear about him now. Trump just turned his back on him. And I think that's what Trump is going to do with Musk.
Mm,
Wait,
but why?
didn't he have to sell off all his stuff to pay all of his
Yeah,
debts?
yeah,
I thought he was trying to hold on to a New York a penthouse or something, and they
yeah,
want to take that too.
yeah, right. So, but that's what Trump does. He'll put somebody up there and have them doing all kind of crazy stuff, and then he walk away from them. You know?
You said,
So, how do you all feel about that bill they're passing? And when our minority leader voted for him with, I think it was 9 or 10 other Democrats,
what was it again?
that budget that the Senate and Representative passed, but they needed 10 Democrats to agree with them. And I think they got the 10, and what's it?
Oh, yeah.
Schumer was, whatever his name is, was the one that voted for it, and he said he did it because he didn't want the government to go, what was it they call, unfunctional or whatever it was.
Over the cliff.
Yeah, and Hakeem Jeffries was against it, and quite a few others were against it. So now they're in turmoil with the Speaker of the House regarding his okay to let that bill pass. And I feel it's just another way of Trump trying to bully and make people think that he's gonna, if they don't pass his bill, the government will stop, you know. And if it
Right.
does, I say let it fall because he
Yeah,
wouldn't bully me like that. I say just let it fall. I would not vote for nothing that man says. And I don't respect the Democrats who voted for it.
Maybe there's something more to it. I don't know. I heard something similar to what you just said, and I couldn't figure out that one. Other than maybe they know something that we're not privileged to know. That means that they needed to go this way for the betterment of the country.
I wouldn't care. I really wouldn't care. It's to the point now where either we fall or we don't fall. And I don't want Trump and his cronies to hold it over my head. I'm the type of person, when you push me in a hole, you know, I won't react the way you want me to react.
Mm.
You know, you push your back against the wall, you come out fighting. You don't just lay
yeah,
down and give them what they want.
Yeah, but that's part of the democratic situation. They really don't fight back if you think about it. They just kind of, how do you put it, get along to get along, go along to get along, as they say.
Yep.
That's what I see. Maybe we don't need all of the fighting. I
But
don't know.
that's a way of selling your soul to the devil. That's what it is. They're trying to find an easy way out. But if they pass that bill, it's going to do more harm than good because I heard there's a lot of stuff in there. I don't know exactly what's in there, but I've been picking up bits and pieces that it's not a good bill. That's why nobody wanted but the Republicans.
You
And
know,
it's
you know what's odd to me is that I don't understand how anybody could realistically think that or explain. Somebody needs to explain this to me. How do you separate a Democrat from a Republican when it comes to economics? I mean, when there's a group that's probably not in your favor, but how do you separate it? Because you're gonna hurt the people that are your constituents too. So I don't understand how that really works. You just literally cut something off and not think it's gonna hurt everybody? Or you're gonna give something to one, you can't really do it. You can't really give it to one group and not expect the others not to have it.
Yes, they can, and they're doing it. They're doing it right now. You can't tell a Republican they're morally against people with no means and no money and is not in the 1%. There's no morals, there's no empathy, there's no sympathy. It's what I want. It's all about them. Nothing that they do is about regular people.
Yeah, but what do you consider regular people?
Middle income, low income, poverty stricken, black, Mexican, poor white trash who voted for Trump, um, anybody who's not a multimillionaire and white.
So, but then that's my whole point. When they create these systems and these processes, it affects it's got to affect your base because people are everywhere. People utilize almost the same things. So how do you figure it's only going to hurt a certain person? That's what I'm trying to figure out. How does that come into play? You just can't say, well, this is only going to hurt the Democrats. This is only going to hurt the Republicans. Everybody's paying taxes. Everybody's, driving down the street. Everybody's, when you do things that restrict things to a party, my question is, how do you know it's not going to affect all of your people that you're in favor of? How does that work? How do you make it only? How do you do things that only? Especially we live in America. We're all part of the American system. So how do you figure you're just going to isolate? It's like saying I'm going to drop a bomb, but only the bomb's going to hurt Democrats. Really? How do you figure? I don't see that. I just don't see it. And how do you have that kind of expectation? Unless there was a line where you got to go in the line and you got to show if you're a Republican or a Democrat and get something. That doesn't really work like that,
Well, it's working for them. They don't have. See, Steve, you're thinking rationally. The Republicans are not rational. They do not think that far. They shoot from the hip, and whoever in the way, they go fall. They don't have that kind of moral compass.
That's my whole point. There are going to be some casualties on the side of those that, voted against their own interests, I guess, so to say.
Yeah, they're going to call that collateral damage.
Yeah, but that could be a lot of people. And the second move with that would be those people become dissatisfied, and then you just ticked off a whole bunch of people that you consider to be in line with you. Like now, there are a lot of veterans out there that are just totally upset with what's going on, and rightfully so. I mean, you're a veteran. There are expectations that people believe in when it comes to veterans. Hey, I served this country. I put my life on the line. I gave up my family and everything to serve this country, and then now to be told that you may not get services, or we want to pull back your services. That's
But wait a minute. He was disrespectful to the veterans way before Election Day.
Yeah.
He's been disrespectful to them across the board. So shame on any of them who didn't believe him and voted for him.
Yeah, that's true. Because there was a big period where he was with the Gold Star families. He was just like, yeah, who cares? There was something with the Gold Star family. He just kind of was like disrespectful towards them. But the biggest disrespectful veteran was John McCain. He told John McCain, "You're a loser." He says, He said, "I don't like my veterans to be captured." And I'm like, huh? If you capture, you really didn't have a choice. You didn't walk across enemy lines and say, "Capture me, please." I think most often, people were captured. It was under distress and bad situation.
Well,
But
that coming from someone who didn't serve
At
because
all.
he has a
At all. Thank
skills
you.
there, it doesn't I mean, he thinks he's exempt from everything.
And also, John McCain been dead how many years? So you've been disrespectful for that many years plus some. And here we are. And as long as we can say that there is not a veteran alive in America that voted for Trump, if we can say that, then I'm good. But if any of y'all thought maybe he was kidding and that his disrespect wasn't real or he meant something else or whatever, well, now here we are.
right.
Literally, how long has John McCain been dead? He been dead almost 10 years now, or am I exaggerating?
Right after Obamacare, almost 8 years or more, 7,
Okay.
8.
Around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Then, but he really relies. I think he's really relying on the fact that the military, they have to listen to him and do what he says. But and military people are not going to go against the commander in chief. They're not going to go against the rank and file.
I don't think they can. Can they?
Authorities. Yeah, if you want to be court martial.
Well, then that's not a good look. So they really can't.
No.
Mm-mm.
Probably not. But this is what came into my mind. What if he sends some orders out to do something that's just so horrendous, and it affected thousands of people's families that were in the military? Then what? What do people do? Do they still say, "Well, that's my commander in chief. I got to make sure that he's pleased with, and my family has to suffer"?
I would like to believe that there are safeguards or like little rules or caveats built into something that says if you're going to do something that's a crime against God and nature, you cannot do it under the advisement of anybody. Now, that's what I would like to believe is in there. I just don't believe. So what you're saying is like if they asked you, he asked to go drop a bomb on Nevada for no reason, would they do it? Kind of thing.
He just dropped some bombs on Yemen.
Just recently,
Yeah, recently they just dropped some bombs on Yemen.
about a military strike. What Tell me more about that.
There were a group of Houthis run by Iran. So we're just bombing them right now.
What do you call them?
Houthis.
Houthis.
They're not. Houthi with the H.
Yeah, Houthis. I don't know what that is.
This is a group of like a terrorist group. That's what we're calling them. They were shooting at our ships by the Suez Canal. Suez Canal. And they were supported by Iran. So we're just bombing them right now.
This has been since when? I caught a little bit of that this morning.
Was the off and on. So that's our next war we're probably gonna go.
So he's been sending airstrikes into Yemen?
Yes, airstrikes.
Oh, I didn't know that. I mean, I kind of heard a little bit, but I wasn't clear. I thought it was something that was old.
No, recently.
They did use Donald Trump's name in some airstrikes in the same sentence, but I'm like, this can't be now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
There's 253 people in there right now. A death toll.
Oh,
Yeah, I think that was like last week or the week before when I started.
it was.
So that might be where we're gonna go to. Then we're gonna talk about Iran recently.
What'd you say about Iran?
No, we're having talks with them right now. Yeah.
Not Iraq.
About
Iran.
Iran. About the Houthi rebels.
And why Iran?
Because what they're backing them. They're backing that group.
Oh.
You know?
We're having talks with them, or we?
No, talks like you keep it up, we're gonna probably go to your country and blow you guys up.
Oh, so threats. I don't really.
Threat. But nicely threat.
Yeah, right.
They make it seem like it's a nice one.
Yeah, just like you told Zelensky. Zelensky, you need to play ball with my way or the highway. Yeah,
What he said, this is not playing cards.
right. He said, no, the crazy part when he told him, he said, you come dressed like this in your pajamas when you come see me, you don't own a suit. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, but Ukraine and Russia have been fighting over 500 years.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
okay, so where did it all start? Where did it all start from? Where did it all culminate to, and where is it going?
Well, we've always been fighting, we too, with Russians over 500 years. Ukrainians were always in the middle. So we're just bouncing back and forth. Who's the toughest, something like that. Who's the toughest on the block? And people are just getting thrown in the middle.
So let me say this. We didn't hear of this big opposition between Russia and the Ukraine up until 8 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah, but beforehand, they were starving.
Yeah, but beforehand, before 1990, Ukraine was part of Russia.
Yeah.
Or the Soviet Union, USSR.
Yes.
So all of a sudden now we got to go back and capture these people. Why wait 20 years?
That's true.
I mean, I don't understand that.
Conflicts, like they starved Russians starved a lot of Ukrainians over there, over 20 million or so.
Really?
Yes.
During what period?
40s, 1940s.
During World War II.
Yeah.
So why would they do that when the Soviet Union was helping the Western Bloc countries fight
They were
against Germany?
Nazis.
No, there were no Nazis in the Ukraine.
They were. Come on. They were.
Yeah, people. I've heard that before, Steve. And people say that.
Go ahead.
What's his name? Lazinski, the president of Ukraine now, is a Nazi. He come from that or something.
So there's a lot of corruption over there too, and it leads to Chicago. A lot of stuff, you know. It's
How you,
bigger.
how you say his name? Is it Zelensky or what is it?
Zelensky.
One more time
Zelen-
with a Z.
yeah, with the Z. Zelensky.
So again, how did this come to be such an opposite of ideology when I want to say since the turn of the 1900s all the way up until 1990 when Germany, Western and Eastern Germany became one again, which was the beginning of what they said the Iron Curtain falling, which is Russia,
Hmm.
in so many words, collapsing, or they let all of their what do you want to call it? The countries that was under their regime, they let them go free.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now they're
But
trying to get all back or something. I don't know what's going on.
but in the 1990s, Ukraine had nuclear weapons. They
What?
signed a peace treaty with Russia, and they gave them the nuclear weapons to Russia.
So then how did Ukraine get these nuclear weapons if they were controlled by the Soviet Union?
They had them on their territory.
Because the Soviet Union left them there?
Yes.
Oh, but that's false. I mean, you can't. If I come in with my gun and you have a gun, and I leave a gun on the table, and I walk away, I can't come back later and say, hey, you know what? We need to sign a peace treaty about my gun and give it
Yeah.
back. I mean, you left it on the table.
Yeah.
Why would you come back to that person and say you need to give me my gun back? And they didn't just leave it overnight on the table. They left it a long period.
It's true. So now they're fighting over minerals.
Okay, that's what I was about to get to. What is this really about?
Wealth, minerals, bread.
Bread.
The bread, they're
Money,
bread, they're the bread basket of the whole Europe.
wheat.
No, he talking about resources of money, capital.
Yeah, wheat, minerals that we need, that Russia needs. It's all about that.
So they didn't need it in 30 years, 30 some odd years. They didn't need it. 30 years. All of a sudden they figured, oh, we need it back again.
Because we are, because we did a survey over there. They call it a U.S. geopolitical survey. And they said there's natural resources, and then we're running out of it resources. That's why we're going all over the place. Like we want your minerals. Same as China's going everywhere. Oh, we want your minerals. They went to the Congo, and he bought a big mine over there.
Hmm. And the
For real.
reason, oh, okay. So now I get where this is going. So you get the minerals, and what you're not telling me is the minerals have to do with probably something that goes in these batteries.
Yes, batteries, Bolt. That
What?
was it Bolt? Was it?
Cobalt? Cobalt?
Yeah.
Okay, cobalt goes in the batteries for the lithium batteries.
Yeah, that
And
was Congo. China
and
bought big mine.
and the reason we need to have these batteries and this cobalt for lithium batteries is because of what?
For cars, could be for everything.
So it's going to take the place of something that we're using now.
Probably.
Okay, so why? Again, I still understand. We started off talking about the weather. We started to venture into carbon footprint. Are we, I mean, that close to just losing the carbon footprint that we currently use?
No, we're just making this like chess game. We're playing chess with all these countries. We're going around getting minerals because they call it's keeps a country in debt. Then they can't repay it, so we gotta get your. It's called the debt trap diplomacy.
Where'd that come from?
It's like we could go to any country, give them a debt, like a loan they cannot repay, and then they got no way out. They gotta just give them the natural resources. That's what they did probably in Ukraine. Because first it was the Orange Revolution over there, and then this. They say, "Oh, green men everywhere." So the
What,
Russians were there, Obama administration, the green men.
now you throwing everybody out. Green men. What's the green men theory here? I don't know.
They were there. Hold on. They were there since the Obama administration. They were in Ukraine, but they didn't have no flags on there, nothing. Do you ever heard of that part or no?
No, I'm trying to understand this whole
The
conversation.
orange revolution they had?
No,
No,
revolution. What's that?
they wanted to change governments in Ukraine. The Orange Revolution
Oh,
in Ukraine.
so there was
Remember,
like a
remember they
revolt.
got poisoned.
Yeah, that was the guy from
He-
that was in England. He was poisoned, right?
yeah, that was a spy. He's talking about those buildings getting bombed. But this is another guy got poisoned in Ukraine, the president.
He did.
Yes.
He died.
I, bel- I think he might be still living. I gotta check.
Right. Okay, so this is
But
what this is all about.
it's been going on forever over there.
I mean, when you say forever, I mean, maybe I'm missing something, but I don't know about forever. And the reason I say that, I know a bunch of Ukrainian people. They never talked about any of this.
Yeah.
Never. I work closely amongst 4 or 5 Ukrainians. Now they call themselves Russians at the time, former Russians, but I don't understand it. I don't understand how all of this backdoor shenanigans stuff come up when, I mean, what's going on?
There's a book. Russians want the Iron Curtain back.
Okay, we get that, but because it's more power, more control, we get that. But why did it fail the first time? If it was that great.
Why it fell? Because we stopped it. Reagan stopped it, the Pope, and then that we're in Afghanistan screwing them over.
Reagan did nothing but bluff. That was a bluff.
Yeah.
Wars, and if you come anywhere near this and that, we're gonna unleash Star Wars effects on you. So we found out, the American people found out Star Wars was a big hoax. He literally said he had a gun and he didn't have a gun. That's what happened. He bluffed them. And there's a lot of validity what you're saying, because if everybody on here doesn't know, Reagan, I don't even think he knew he was bluffing, because Reagan was had Alzheimer's, so I don't think he knew. But he came up with, we got this multi-trillion-dollar defense system that's called Star Wars, and it'll put a blanket over the U.S. of missiles in case of this, that, and the other, and it'll do this to other countries if that's not. So I guess it's like the playground bully. You know, the bully comes to you, hey, give me your lunch money. You say, hey, you don't back off and try to take my lunch money, I'm going to call my two big twin brothers, and they're going to take your lunch money and more. And the kid really didn't have any twin brothers, didn't even have any brothers, barely had a sister problem. And the guy was like, here it is, just have my lunch instead. The bully, just take my lunch and leave me alone. And that's what happened. Russia just kept building and building and stockpiling and thinking they were going to out-defense Star Wars, and we had no Star Wars. So they put all their money, how they say, put all your eggs in one basket. They put all their eggs in a basket that wasn't even worth putting in, because they were racing towards something that we really didn't even have a leg in the race.
So, don't we always bluff?
What do you call a bluff versus just flat out lie?
Yeah, don't we always lie?
America been lying since they landed on Plymouth Rock. Just be real about it.
No, I don't think the United States. I think the United States always been in a position to not necessarily have to bluff. They always had like the biggest. Well, the perception is that it was always like how Steve used the analogy of the bully. They was always the biggest bully on the block. So nobody really, they didn't, or we didn't have to bluff, you know.
So you saying there was some backup to the talk?
No, for sure. Like, especially the United States has done stuff to to people in the past, like with Japan, dropping the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Like they did stuff before.
Yeah, that really wasn't a bluff.
Nah.
Oh,
But,
we had the
my question is, this is another good analogy. If the little brother gets smacked by the big brother, why does the little brother go smack the middle brother instead of the big brother back? Because literally during World War II, it was Germany that was the threat. Japan came in as an ally with Germany because I don't know if they felt threatened or they just wanted to feel like they were going to gain some power by being, shoulder to shoulder with Germany. Because I can guarantee you, the Nazis didn't like nobody. And definitely people with slanted eyes. So go figure. What kind of ally, what kind of bed were they in? I don't even understand that. Number two, the U.S. just went and dropped the bombs on. Yeah, we say, oh, it was all based on Pearl Harbor. They threatened Pearl Harbor. This and that. I'm like, man, yeah, bombed Japan and bombed Germany too. But why didn't they drop atomic bombs on Germany?
Because it was
they had a couple more left in the barrel.
there's too many troops, U.S. troops in Europe, so we just firebombed them.
I think there's too many white people in Europe. That's why they ain't do it. That's what I think.
Possibly.
If it wasn't white people there, they would have dropped the whole kit and caboodle. Every atomic weapon they had, probably. That's me thinking, because I get it. Yeah, let's go get Japan because they did what they did in Pearl Harbor. But why not save a couple of them bombs for Germany? I mean, you could have stopped all that even way back, before that happened. And the reason Germany didn't have the technology yet because all of their scientists came to America. I.e., what's his name? Einstein.
Einstein.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you said troops.
Well,
Well,
you
I
know,
think there's some validity to what you said, Walter, about the troops, because we did have allied countries that were right next to Germany. I guess if they were thinking, well, did they really know the contamination and all that stuff and the devastation that these bombs would do? I'm sure
yeah,
they
they knew.
calculations.
Look at Russia was our ally during World War II.
Hmm.
Uh,
See that? They were our ally in World War II, but they backstabbed us during the Cold War. What was that about?
yeah, because they thought they were going to get the cut. I guess there was was there some kind of alliance agreement or something? And I guess they thought they were going to get the cut out of the whole deal more than what they received. And then, like,
Oh, yeah, that
they
was that deal.
got sticky. They even divided Germany. Now, go figure. That didn't
Yeah.
even. But I think that was a strategic move on dividing Germany. That was all based on weakening the country. All right, you take this part and you control it, and the West takes you take that part and control it. As long as we keep them separated, they'll never build up back up to being the threat or terrorist threat to the world like they were. But look what Russia did. They became the enemy to the U.S. shortly after that. Right
Yeah.
after, immediately after that. How many times you heard people try to cross over from East Germany into West Germany, and the Russians would be like, you know what? We gotta stop this crap. We gotta shoot them. We can't have people defecting and trying to figure out the good life. They might let people know. I remember it was so bad at one point in Russia, they didn't even have blue jeans. It was like blue jeans were like it was like getting gold or something. It was like blue jeans. People can't afford blue jeans. They won't let people have blue jeans in a country. What kind of lockdown mentality is that? Oh, similar to what's going on now in the U.S. I guess.
Hey, Steve, you was asking about the conflict between Ukraine and Russia and like what it's all about.
Right.
It's something. So the thing that I don't understand is like, how is it possible that Ukraine can like defend themselves for 3 years against Russia, especially if it was like a sneak attack type situation where they just invaded overnight. I would think that would have been like a week, 2 weeks, maybe like a month at the most, if it was like a real invasion.
So how did you say? How do they defend off their enemies?
Yeah, like so, like when it started, like 3 years ago, they were saying that Russia just invaded Ukraine overnight. It was just a sneak attack of evasion or invasion. So Ukraine is like this little country, it's right next to Russia, and Russia is like this mega power. How is it possible that they are still if it I'm saying how is it possible that it's still a war that this small country could go could stand
How
up
did they
against
sustain the
Russia?
fight?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, how did they stay in the fight?
Well,
From
I
US.
one of the reasons, to me, it's the David and Goliath effect. You know, David and Goliath, the giant approaches David, and David's this little weak young boy, and Goliath has this big shield and sword, and he's 8 feet tall and all of this. And all it took was one pebble and a slingshot to knock him in the strategic manner, hit Goliath in the head. I think he got him to take off his helmet or something. I
But
don't know.
but that's different though, because so like to use the David and Goliath, that's like if Goliath came to David's house while he was asleep and started the fight. you know,
Right.
how is that possible?
You're saying that they had to have a bigger opposing threat to Russia for them not to just take them over on the ambush, so to say, right?
I think
Well, I'm saying
a lot of countries supported them with military stuff, tanks, guns, ammo, everything.
Yeah,
but that was after the fighting started, though, right?
In the beginning, yes, these countries were supporting them, and then
Yeah, but
in the
that's what I'm saying. So like if so they weren't part of like the UN or anything or NATO. They
no, not.
they they they're their own country. They don't really have support like that. So if it's a sneak attack, surprise invasion against a mega power in the world, how are they still able to be fighting after 3 years?
well, they
I would
claiming
think I would think if it was a full out invasion, we coming for everything you got type thing. That war would have lasted for a month at the most.
I think we had our people on the ground over there. I think we had the CIA over there. Because how they had the top covered is with drones.
there you go. That's the point I was about to say. They're literally using these drones as their biggest defense. Say Russia has 1,000 troops. Let's just use that small number, but it's a big number. And Ukraine has, let's just say, 50 troops. The 50 troops are controlling 10,000 drones. So now those 10,000 drones are combating 1,000 Russian troops. And they can't see, being that, here we go, David and Goliath. Being that they're hard to detect and they're hard to combat. Now, did Russia come up with a drone buster? That's the only thing that I could think of. There was a way to get, because those drones do a lot of damage. I was watching them. They literally like hone in on a bunker or a tank or troops, and it puts fear in the Russian troops. Now, you would think the Russians would use the same thing. Why don't they use the little drones and do the same thing? I'm sure they could probably have more drones because they have more troops. But that's not what's going on. They're not fighting drone for drone warfare. I don't get that.
It's the future. They're gonna probably use drones over here one day.
Yeah, they already do. Believe it or not. But the only other thing I can tell you also, Raheem, is that it wasn't really a sneak attack because remember Crimea, when Obama was president, they went in and took over Crimea overnight. And the people in Crimea, which was a Ukrainian province or city, town, or whatever, they said, okay, hands up. All right, you got us. Come on. Come on in here and take us over. Come on. They gave up like
Well, because
over.
they knew what time. No, I remember that. It was like a day or two or something like that.
Yeah, it was like, hey,
Because
just leave us alone. We'll be a part of whatever you say, whatever.
yeah, I
But
would think the Ukraine situation would have went the same way if it was like a full on assault.
you know, I
You know,
think the
but
problem
I
with
don't know.
it's our strategic location. Crimea is like at the mouth of, is it in the Baltic?
No, it's in the Black Sea.
Black Sea, correct. And I think the other part of this, what people don't realize, the reason why Crimea was a strategic location is because it's supposed to be part of this new route that they're supposed to be building these super trains, or not train, but a train system that goes all the way from Europe through Europe, all the way to China, what have you. And the Chinese, from what I understand, gave Crimea this big super loan, and they wanted to, they didn't get what they wanted, from their loan on the return on their investment, and they had to go find somebody else to come in there and bust this up. And Russia came in to do so, I guess.
And look what happened.
Pardon?
Look what happened. They brought North Korean troops there, 10,000 of them, and they got all wiped out.
Into Ukraine? Is that what you're saying? They brought them into the Ukraine
Yeah, 10,000 North Korean troops.
recently?
It was a couple months ago, and they're all dead.
I heard about that. I heard about that. But the thing is, what did North Koreans say after all of his troops were killed? What's their strategy? What's going to happen now?
And I mean, they got some nukes and stuff. Yeah, be careful with that.
No. See, people realize with nuclear weapons, it's kind of like, everybody got the same weapons, and your capacity and your capabilities. Nobody wants to pull that trigger because it means, you just pull the trigger on yourself. So everybody thinks about it. It's a good strategy to have the power because now your power is your threat and your threat is your power. I mean, their threat is their power. And I think that's where it's kind of looked upon. But to hear that Ukraine had nuclear weapons and they gave them up in some kind of treaty to Russia, that's a weird one. But nevertheless, we talked about a lot of global situations that really, trickle down to affect us. But we need to talk about some local things, which has been what as of today. I want to share some things about the mayor with you guys. Just a week ago, we had a meeting at NAC with some elected officials, and community, primarily more community. Well, oh wait, let me take that back. Not elected officials, someone from the mayor's office, and they were here to talk with a group of people about, the way things are going down in City Hall. I guess part of it is how the mayor is getting beat up by the what's the group called? Black Chicago Red. What is it called? Turning Black Chicago Red. Yeah. And that being said, there was a big question in the room about, well, where are the Democrats? Where are the people that are blue, I guess, if you want to say that? Why aren't they there to support the mayor? And I got to pose that question to everybody on here. Talk to me. Why doesn't the mayor get that kind of support against the Red Chicago? How about you, Dr. Raheem? What you say to that? Or what do you say to that, Walt? Or go ahead, Raheem.
Yeah, my fault. You said why the mayor doesn't get support?
Yeah, against the Red Chicago.
Yes.
I don't know, man. Do people really? I don't know if people really get down with the mayor like that. So haven't he lost like a lot of the supporters that he did have, like with the immigration stuff and just like some of the other stuff that's been going on? Hasn't he lost a lot of supporters?
many have said yes. I mean, that was part of the conversation. You know, people were saying, "What is he giving us? What is he giving? He's giving everything else away. He hasn't given us anything."
Yeah,
And
so I think that's probably like the biggest part of it, man. I think it's lost faith in him.
hmm, so,
No?
what? Say what?
Yes. Mhm.
Say what?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You had something to say, Ella? Ella, you were about to say something?
And then, well,
Go ahead.
I think I feel like it's a racial component too, and like I think it's easy to bang on the black man, regardless of like if you feel like he doing a if he mess up once, you know, if he do something bad one time, then it's easier to turn your back on him. So that could be another component too. I think.
Oh, that's an excellent rational or realization or comment because that's partially what came up also.
Mhm.
Who is his base? And isn't his base the West Side? And isn't his base, black people? And isn't his base the Democrats? And isn't his base the black people that are on the West Side of the Democrats? And isn't it, these are the things that kind of left people a little like, okay, where's this going? But that was part of the conversation. On one hand, he made his bed and he's got to lay in it, and the other hand is, wait a minute, somebody put spikes in his bed,
Mhm.
and they're pushing him into it. So, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to go by with that, with the situation. Um, you got what, less than 2 years before the election, and I think they said his approval rating was like 14% or something like that. And I think that's based on 100.
Wow, that's cool.
The
You
max
said 16?
six
Oh,
numbers zero,
6. Wow.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
You know, I think one of the things that caused the unfavorable approval of our mayor is the way he handled that loan, putting us deeper in debt for such a small amount of money that I mean, it kind of reminds me of the mess that Daley did with the streets meters and stuff. Sold us out for 100 years, for just $1 million just to balance the budget that year. It's the same thing. He's taking all his loan with that high interest rate to bail out, what was it, the teacher's pension or something stupid. And I think that that was a bad choice. Then he had that nasty fight with the current what was he? Was he the head of the school or something like that? That white guy, or was he Latino?
Come on, Pedro.
What was his last name? I don't remember the first name.
Yeah,
Pedro,
he's the
the guy that told
CEO of CPS.
Yeah, because I think that could have been handled differently than to push somebody out there and, you know, made him look like a fool or was incompetent when he told the truth. I would never have wanted to take out a loan like um he did because it's a waste. We have to find other ways of doing stuff other than the easy route. And I think he took the easy route And then when the man disagreed with him, he set him out there.
Well, part of the deal is the fact that we I guess in a deficit on certain things. But one of the things is the Bears leaving. You know, is that the Bears? I haven't heard the latest, but I think they're still talking about leaving. And
But that wasn't his fault. That's Lori Lightfoot. That's on Lori Lightfoot.
And I don't like them no way. They're not winning nothing. So what is the asset? They're not doing a thing.
All facts. All facts.
Right. So let them go if they want to go. Let them see how many people go out to Arlington Heights to see him.
Oh, they're gonna.
Yeah, people gonna travel. They're gonna go to Arlington Heights.
And they will be the Chicago Bears in Arlington Heights then?
Yeah, they'll still be the Bears. They'll just playing Arlington Heights.
I don't comment because they're not breaking ground yet.
Well, I mean, one of the things that's been presented to me, and I ain't the mayor, they said, want the mayor sell Soldier Field to the Bears, and then let the Bears develop all of that, and then some, you know, keeping the historical value to it or whatever it's supposed to be, and let them develop their own new indoor stadium or dome stadium, which should have been done 35 years ago, 30 years ago.
When these teams, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
When these teams buy all these beautiful stadiums, the Mercedes-Benz and all of these stadiums, is any of that built with taxpayer money or is it all private funding?
Well, let's just talk about the cell. Or what is the cell called these days? What the White Sox play? I don't know what it's called.
It's called rate. RATE. Rate.
Rate.
Yeah, because they dropped guarantee because apparently guarantee is one of the hardest words to spell. So they dropped the rate and guarantee, and now it's just called rate.
Yeah.
Wow.
But most of these stadiums are built with taxpayer money.
Right. TIF money.
Yeah.
And the state.
What kind of money?
Tax income finance.
TIF money.
Oh.
Tax increments finance money. And that's I heard that pretty much the whole, what's it called? The rate field was funded when it first opened up and built by the state of Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
General Assembly, they voted on that.
And they're talking about building a new Bear stadiums on the south side with a closed dome where the old hospital was on the south side.
Where on the south side?
Let's see it.
The hospital by the convention center.
You mean by McCormick Place?
Yeah.
Oh, Mercy, the old hospital.
Yes.
Is there enough land there? They have to knock down some things, don't they?
By the Birmingham Park project.
What? What's it called?
Birmingham Park project.
Okay, so where is that located?
The south.
You know exactly what street?
Hold on, let me look it up real quick.
So this is a proposal, or is this something that's on the books, or is this just a thought? Or I don't know anything about that.
It's just like a proposal right now.
Yeah, I think they came out with the mock-up or whatever. like the design, well, how they envisioned it looking, like those pictures and everything. They came out with the pictures last week, but it's just a proposal. But it's no for sure thing. More than likely, they're gonna be in Arlington Heights. That's what I'm thinking. But
Just because they bought the land?
yeah, I mean, like, what they gonna? So if they build it, I doubt if they'll be able to do it at on the lakefront. And then the spot by the convention center, I don't know if it's enough land there for them to do everything that they want to do. And then if they did it in the city, if it stayed in Chicago, then what they gonna do with the land that they have in Arlington Heights?
They could leverage it for the money to build the other one, and they could rent it out. Because you know the first thing that people would go,
It's just a field. It's not like there's nothing developed there.
yeah, but I'm saying they could rent that out or lease it out for casinos. You know, that's the first thing they'll do.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know, Steve. They,
No, I don't think
they
people
might as
want
well
that.
go to Arlington Heights, man.
That's a gamble. That's a gamble.
Wait a
on
minute.
guess.
Did they pay for it in Arlington Heights? So it's already paid for. It's already bought.
Yeah, they already bought the land.
Well,
They
who
bought the
buys
land
something
probably
and
like
then doesn't move
4 or
in
5 years
though?
ago.
Because I thought one of the roadblocks was based on the taxes that they were getting hit with before they well, I guess you're right, they bought the land, I guess. But nevertheless, I don't know. But you know what could be the deciding factor on a lot of this? Didn't one of the McCaskies die, the daughter?
Yeah, Virginia McCaskey. She
Like,
yeah, she was the owner of the bear.
and you don't think that has a big effect on what's gonna happen now?
No.
Big effect.
Say again?
No, that's gonna be like a big effect. Because Virginia didn't want to move the Bears. Now
Oh,
they have it. Now they want to probably move it.
oh,
Because they gotta still, I believe they still have like a lease to Soldiers Field to about 2030.
okay.
Still got a lease for the Chicago Park District.
Right.
Yeah, but like if they start building this year, it's not going to be built until probably about that time. So that'll be right on time for them to leave.
So
Yes.
you thinking the Bears just keeping their powder dry just to not give away their hand, huh? Show their hand.
Yep. Not yet until they break ground and then put a big stadium. Then yeah. Wait until they break the ground.
So they break ground and put the Portillo.
Yeah. Look, don't we need one around here? Portillo's.
Yeah, right. They got them in Vegas now. They got
Well,
one down in Bloomington. They just
oh,
built, they put one a year or two ago in Bloomington, Illinois.
see, they should put one over here.
Yeah.
Portillo's right in the old Super Low parking lot.
Where?
Where it used to be Super Low. Right on by Grand Avenue.
Brandon. Where's that?
By 75th.
Oh, yeah, right. I got you. And Elmwood Park.
Yeah, Elmwood Park. They should put up Portillo's there.
Yeah, super low. Yeah, I forgot about
Are there any Portillos on the south side?
I
it.
don't
Yeah,
know.
95th over by
I think in the south suburbs.
they got one on 95th and Cicero, I think, or Pulaski.
Oh,
Mhm.
Well, trust me, the plight of Chicago and its taxes and everything else. And which kind of we segued into this based on what I was telling you guys about that 836 million, $840 million roughly, that was given by President Biden to the state. Well, I'm not gonna say the state. It was supposed. I think it's between the city of Chicago and the county of Cook. They're supposed to utilize that money. And now we're saying, you know, where's the money to keep the bears, and where's the money to satisfy the teachers union and the teachers? Where's the money? Let's just be real, to satisfy the constituents and the residents overall in the city of Chicago. Where is it? And how is it being divvied out? I don't know if you guys know or seen, and we're gonna just touch on this a little bit, because I don't think we did. The mayor, Brandon Johnson, went to DC, and he sat before congressional hearings.
Yeah, he did. That was all over the news. Yeah.
Okay, but did you guys hear all of the inside stuff that came out of that?
No, go ahead.
Because, well, first of all, I was supposed to go. I was asked to go and support, but couldn't go. I had doctor's appointments. Plus, I just come off a road trip, and I'm like, man, they want to take a road trip. I don't know if this body could do that 2 weeks in a row. But nevertheless, there, you know, he ended up being, from what you've seen on the news, berated with a lot of questions about why it's a sanctuary city of Chicago and so forth and so on. It was just crazy to me that one representative said to him, okay, I want a yes/no answer, nothing else, because you've been known to just carry on and on with your vocabulary. And she was talking to him just like that. And I'm like, wow, okay.
You talking about the lady?
Yeah. Then at the end of it, she said, you know what, I'm glad you gave me all this information. So right after this, I'll be going over to the Department of Justice, and I'll be opening a case up against you. I'm like, wow, this is what we doing, huh? Okay. And then, you know, there were many others say he did very well. A lot of people said, oh, we thought, you know, proud of the mayor. He stood up and he this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay, yeah, he did, I guess, you know. I didn't see it all. But then on the inside, there was a group that I know of. They sat down and had dinner with him and discussed other plans, you know. And came back to Chicago, and they're trying to organize on some things. So that being said, I'm like, man, he came from an organizing background. Why didn't he activate towards organizing earlier? You know, or looking at that as a, you know, as a way to keep things in his favor. You know what I'm saying?
I think he went too left, too fast out the gate, man, and that lost a lot of people. You know what I mean?
What? Did you guys hear that one? Say again.
No, I said I think he went too left, too fast out the gate, and that lost a lot of people. You know, yeah, he went far left right out the gate, and you know.
Yep.
All I'm saying is, man, whether he went far this way or whatever way, and I tell everybody, I'm like, man, he's on the west side, and he understands what's going on the west side and the plight of the west side. Help the west side. Help people.
Oh,
I'm
you saying?
not saying turn your back on everybody else. I'm saying what they said when you're on the plane, put your mask on first, and everybody has to understand that. If once I get my mask on, I can help others, but you got to help the West Side. And I was told in the meeting that, well, he's not just the mayor of the West Side. I'm like, I don't care about that. I really don't care about that. He knows me. He knows many of us that's on here. He knows me personally, and he knows the situation. And I know you can't do everything in the amount of time you're elected, but at least where's the roadmap so we can at least see it, so we can get some help for the West Side. And
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think that kind of it go into like what I was saying about like the left thing, like people that's so like the mindset is like, I guess, fair and equality, right? So what you saying, like, do something for the West Side, where you from? But him being, so it's kind of like the Obama argument when people say Obama didn't do anything for black people, and then somebody come back and say, well, Obama is not just the president of black people; he did president of the United States. So I think Brandon Johnson, he was trying to do a lot for a lot of people, and in that, his focus was on trying to help. So like with the mental health stuff, not to say that that's a bad thing, but it's not just people on the West Side that suffer from mental health issues. It's everybody. With the stuff with CPS, that's everybody in the city. The immigration stuff, like, I think, I just think he was trying to do too much for everybody too fast, and that lost his base. How you were saying, the West Side or the Austin community.
Well, I mean, he sleeps and lays his head right here, down the less than 4 blocks from the office here. I think I would want to see something greater and better when I open my eyes up, right where I lay my head, and I tell everybody, let me be in a position of authority or power where I could change things to affect people's lives in a positive direction. I'm doing it. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to start with the people I know. I mean, maybe that's just me, but that's the way I would do it. Maybe people wouldn't like it, but hey, start. What do you say? Charity starts at home. Period. Let's make it happen.
I feel you.
You gotta do something to, and I mean, I get it. You got a lot on the table, a lot to deal with, but man, I would just be like, what are the top 5 things West Siders need? And then get a task force for that, figure out how to get that dressed, and then let people know you're working on it. That's all. And if it takes whatever time, then people have to understand that. But just to be like, well, walk outside my door, ain't no crime. And speaking of crime, let me bring this up. Where the heck is Chief Snelling? We ain't heard from Chief Snelling since he's been chief.
Who's that?
Yeah, exactly. Who's that? Chief of Police, Superintendent of Chicago Police Department.
Huh?
Ain't heard a peep out of him. He's been out of the politics of all of this.
What's up with the guy, that old policeman?
Which one?
Chief of police.
You talking about Superintendent? I used to call him Charlie Brown, because all you heard was wah 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 wah.
Charlie Brown.
Yeah, Brown.
With that shot spotter guy.
Oh, you're talking about Eddie Johnson.
Yeah, Eddie Johnson.
Came for Brown. Um, I'm sure we'll be hearing back from him again. I mean, we had a meeting last year, remember, on
Yeah.
at the church, and he came out and he talked about the shot spotter, which still to me, yeah, that was a $9 million a year deal, and $9 million sounds like 10. And when you say $10 million that's going towards something that can't give you any statistical data that is being effective, and they wouldn't give any, but then on the other hand, when you say, hey, the police respond faster when they have shot spotter, they all get the call right in front of them. They don't have to wait for 911. And when you say, hey, I did the math. I'm like, it ended up being like $3 per person a year in the city of Chicago. We got 3 million people in Chicago, right? So every man, woman, and child is chucking up $3 a year. I'm sure even every child out there can afford to lose $3 of their allowance a year. So I don't know why it was, a budget item to say, hey, we can save $9-10 million. Let's just round it up to 10, which to me, it's a lot of money because I'm not a 10 millionaire. But wasn't something to just get rid of unless there was something behind it. Anywho, anyhow, anyway, that was one of the things that was on the burners of the table. Another thing was we had I tried to invite some of you guys, the Leadership Lab out of Oak Park, or as they're currently called, a Community Connection. They did a seminar, not a seminar, but a kind of symposium over at Northwest Austin Council this week, Friday. Had a good turnout, about 25 plus people. The talk was based on leadership, and next go round, I'm definitely gonna try to make sure everybody knows about it. I called you, Ella, but you were at the dentist, and I'm like, I can't bother her now. But they hung out for about 4 hours doing their leadership initiative. Barry, I told Barry about it, but he had some things on the agenda. A few others I told, and I had one guy come out. That was Kai Killian. He came over, and he was happy he came. He said, he got a lot out of it, and so did I, because we ended up talking to Anna Garcia, which she's an environmentalist, and she did a presentation, and found out she knew some people I knew in the environmental world, and she wants to work on this one issue that's going on over near the old Zenith building, where there's a mound of dirt, and this mound of dirt has been sitting there for decades, uncovered, and no one knows why it's never been moved. So now, the antenna go up saying maybe this is toxic and it needs to be tested. So there's some things about to go down with all of that, because multiple people are going to be looking into it.
Jimmy Hoff was buried there.
Yeah, well, we know it's contaminated now. You got the lead boots on. Lead is a bad substance.
Yeah, he's buried there.
Got the lead sandals on over there. But yeah, they said possibly, and definitely it's so close to the neighborhood, that dust has been blowing all over. And if it's contaminated with anything, that could be bad, really bad. And I was asked to reach out to a young lady that I've known for a few years now. Her name is Cheryl Johnson, and she's the daughter of what they call the godmother of the environmental movement in America. Her mother, which was what's her mom's name? It's Johnson. I forgot her first name. Anyway, she was the person that Clinton wrote into and signed the bill was signed by President Clinton for the Environmental Act that take place in America now. And if it wasn't for Cheryl's mom, which they all lived out in Argyll Garden, which they call that area the Toxic Donut, because there were so many, toxic sites surrounding them that many people had, a multitude of issues and ailments, illnesses based on that. And Cheryl, she's holding down the situation that's keeping up with environmental issues in and around Chicago, just as her mom did some decades ago. So again, it's a great opportunity to have Anna Garcia come out and talk about that. And then I spoke to her offline about this whole Zenith site. She's like, hey, I'm going over there. I'm gonna check this out. And she invited me out to an environmental Ouija meeting, they call it, out in Garfield Park. I think it's on Tuesday this week. So anybody interested, Garfield Park, probably at 6 o'clock or so. I'll find out more if you want to know, you want to be involved. But at this hour, what you say there, Barry, you got anything? Because we're about to close it out. Anything in particular you want to add?
Hey guys, just what's on my mind is these are tough times for a lot of people, scary times, and I think we need to be the way out of it that I see is people helping each other, and that's what I've got. So I'll sign off with that.
We got to help each other, give each other a helping hand. That never hurts. It always helps. How about you, Tiny? What you know good, what you got good in conclusion? How about you, Ella? Anything in conclusion?
Oh no, nothing. But great conversations,
Oh, I just want to tell you this. So I attended the 15th District Police 1523, I think is the beat, or 24, 1524, 15th District. And I ran into some people. Did you know there's an issue going on in the 1100 block of Central?
what?
That's what I said. But I met a lady that lives there. She said they got some crazy activity going on in the 1100 block. And I'm like, that's the main street. But, then again, Austin is the main street, and we had the Ellises, right?
Right.
Keeping up.
But
So
when I go through there, I don't see anything. I don't see no people out there. I don't see anything.
She
And
told
I
me
go through
that
there.
she said they got drug activity, they got gang activity, they got such and such activity. She said that the coroner went in there a couple of days, a week ago, and pulled somebody out. And they drove a car into her house one time, cost her $30,000. I'm like, wow.
I didn't know any of that was going on there. I never see no activity.
Well, this is what was said in the beat meeting, and I'm like, okay, that's something to keep an eye on. Because, and then I asked her, I said, why are you the only person that's making mention of this? She said that the other people are afraid, I guess, but I'm like, no, that's not how neighborhoods work. When you work together, people have to feel comfortable in saying, what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, and work it out. Work it in, work it out. But yeah, that was new to me. When I heard that, I was like, wow, okay, we're gonna talk more about that. But nevertheless, what you got, Kim, in conclusion?
Great conversation. Everybody have a great week. Stay safe. And stay positive.
Hello, anybody there?
Yes.
Hello? Oh, okay. Looked like we went dead for a moment.
Steve is talking, but no one can hear him.
Right. Okay.
My conclusion is prepare for the worst, hope for the best. Steve, I can't hear you.
That's
Oh,
because if we go into participants, his name is on mute. The microphone is on mute.
yeah, Steve, you're on mute. If you could hear us, you're on mute.
He's looking.
Ugh.
Yeah.
There you go.
Steve, you
What you
were
got,
on mute.
buddy? Y'all see me there?
Yes, we see you.
Well,
But
we're
you
gonna go ahead and close it on out as usual. And as Dr. Dre always say, they didn't want to invite us to the table, so we had to create our own. And we want to welcome you guys back next weekend, Sunday at 6 o'clock to the 8 o'clock hour, as we always do, to the Northwest Austin Council. Good night, all. Take it
Good night.
easy.
all right, good night, Steve.
All right,
Good
peace,
night.
everybody.
Good
Good
night,
night.
everyone.
Take care.
Good night. Take care. Have a good, safe week.
Yeah. God bless everybody.
Right,
Thank
y'all.
you.
Y'all heard me, right?
Right.
Yeah, my other monitor went out, but that's all good. That's why we got two. Later, y'all.